And then I want to kind of, I'm always curious about the flipping world. I never done any flips. It's one of the things you see the flipping channel or stories on, HGTV and all that fun stuff. And it looks awesome, but it's cash flow, right? So it's not passive is
Right.
what I also mean. It's very active. And
Oh yeah.
yes, you've got contractors that are swinging the hammer and all of that stuff, but you've got to be there managing them. You've got to be there with the capital because it's also a capital intensive operation as well. So talk about some of your flips because I'm just kind of curious. Were you doing all this stuff in Detroit or in that area, or how did that work?
Yeah, so initially I started off literally within like 1 square mile of my home, very specific neighborhoods. I went to the city, I made this huge map. I still have it somewhere in my office, and I had this whole system. Essentially, I would, get someone to drive me and I would drive around the entire neighborhood, street by street, with, a pen and paper and,
Yep.
and look for signs of distress. And then I would mark those homes with, certain color coded tabs on the actual map. And then I would literally just go knock on doors. I mean, every Sunday and every evening after work, I was knocking on doors, trying to get people to sell their homes. And we'd buy a home, renovate it, sell it. But there's so much that goes into it besides just the construction. I mean, you have to source the property, right? You have to have the funds, right? And that might be some of your own money that very likely is going to be private money loans.
Yep.
So you have to have those relationships. And then you have to, work through title to get the deal closed, just like you would any purchase. And once you close it, you have to manage all the contractors, which, there's tons of things that can come up. And then at that point, you have to, I chose to market most properties through a realtor. Even after I became licensed, I always use realtors to sell my properties because it's not what I specialize in. But yeah, I mean, in terms of stories, I mean, I think probably my favorite flip. Let me answer your other question first. It was initially in that 1 mile radius. I expanded to the surrounding city, and then I expanded out into the county. This
Okay.
was again during the recession, so you could buy houses for next to nothing.
Yeah.
As I was doing this over the years, the inventory dried up, the prices increased. I actually moved my company, rebranded it into the city of Detroit, and this was before people were really doing a lot of real estate flipping in Detroit. And we had a lot of success there. I think probably one of my favorite flips was in a neighborhood in Detroit, a historic neighborhood, beautiful home built in 1930. I bought it from Chase Bank for a laughably low amount of money. It was incredibly gorgeous. No one had lived in it for decades. So what we did was we took this beautiful home with the woodwork and the wainscoting and the archways and modernized it, right? We removed the boilers, put in forced air, put in new bathrooms, new kitchen, refinish the hardwood floors, add some hardwood, and really we're able to create a masterpiece, right? We were able to, the facade, we were able to recreate the facade the way that it looked, almost 100 years ago, even though there was a lot of damage to the woodwork. And at the end of the day, I sold this property to a young couple, and for them was a great investment. I mean, that area really appreciated, but that to me it was a labor of love. And, not every deal was as sweet as that. Not every story was as enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you other deals where, I bought properties in the wrong neighborhood, and every time I would do a renovation, the next night, the cabinets or the furnace would be stolen.
Oh yeah.
So that it's a hands-on activity. It's very, 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 very labor intensive every step of the way, and it's high risk. It's very high risk. Your
Yep.
capital is tied up, or other people's capital is tied up, often with a personal guarantee. So I still do it occasionally. I flipped one last year, but it's definitely something that I usually don't miss.